That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Trade Talk. This week we have Jirni, Volume 1, Shadows and Dust by J.T. Krul and, what is it, Pablo Pantalena? Pantalena? Pantanella? I'm gonna go with Pantanella. Or just oh no, it's not even Pablo, it's Paolo. Sorry, the text on there is a bit off. JT Krul and Polo. We'll just go with that. So, why am I reading this? Well, one, I promised to do more Marvel and independent stuff since I've been on a bit of a DC kick. I'm always more of a DC guy. Two, Jirni had a catch-up issue or something like that come out. It was a couple months ago at this point when I'm recording. But I'd never heard of this series before. And I like genies. I got a thing for genies. I don't know what it is. I remember as a kid watching Nick at Night. The show I got obsessed with was I Dream of Jeannie. Aladdin was one of my favorite Disney movies growing up, and I think it just gave me an obsession, a lifelong obsession with genies. And I say this, and I am dead fucking serious, folks. If you ever get a magical genie lamp, you don't want to make the wishes yourself. You want to come to me. I've got your back on this. Okay, genies are notoriously tricky. I got it handled. I know how to handle this situation. We'll get this all right. I am your genie wish consultant. I promise. So anyway, you see the lamp on the cover, Jirni. It's all about jinns. I just got a thing for genies, so I was definitely interested in the catch-up issue for Volume 3. I was like preparing people for Volume 3, which is now being published. And I was like, you know what? It got me interested enough. I want to read Volume 1 and see what this is. And this is... I don't want to call this a guilty pleasure, because it's not bad enough to be a guilty pleasure. But this is one of those things where it has a host of problems, and I'm well aware of them, mostly the two of them. And I can look past it because I'm just invested in what's going on. This is a book where I'm like, oh god, this looks like trash. And it's got some trashy elements, I can't deny it. But man, if I'm not like a sucker for this. This is just, I feel everyone's got just their kind of thing. And this is just kind of, it's in my wheelhouse of just general things that I like. And I've never read that stuff in comics. I've just never come across that in comics, so I'm excited for it. I gotta give it a shot. But yes, I am well aware, looking at the cover, the art is exactly what you think it's gonna be the whole book through. Like, it's exploitative is the word. Her costume is fucking redonkulous. And to be fair, the exaggerated anatomy is all over the place in this book, but it is particularly on the women, including the main character, Ara. There's just no getting around it. It is goddamn redonkulous throughout the book. And that's just what it is. It's all the women though. Like her mother is in the like flashbacks in here, and just she's stacked too. Everyone is just, all the women are just like rocking it like a brick house. And I have no problem with multiple body shapes and stuff like that in comics. It's fine. And I know that we tend to go for the exaggerated form, particularly with superhero books in comics, and just with women in general, they tend to, you know, exaggerate the hourglass figure. It's something I'm used to in the medium. But when it's just every fucking character, every female character in the book, it get like, to be fair, it's not every character. There's an old woman at one point who's not like that. It's just fucking ridiculous. Like, it's all TNA, it's all thongs and stuff, and it's just like, come on with this. I'm like interested in this story. I'm not here to jerk off. So it just gets to be ridiculous to me. Then there's points where it's like really weird. Like, Ara doesn't know that she's the daughter of a djinn until her powers come to her in a moment of need, when she's a child. Like, here she is, she's very young, clearly. She's meant to not be an adult. And then, like, she's threatened, her life is threatened, and she transforms into the djinn version of herself. And that's the first image you see. And so it's just like, it's just weirdly sexualizing a child. I hate that crap. But at the same time, this has stuff in it where I'm like, yes, I'm so here for this. I'm so here for this kind of story. Particularly in chapter 2. Like, it's so weird, because that chapter 2 has that moment that I just talked about, where she transforms for the first time in a flashback. And then it cuts to the modern day, where she walks into this village that's really down and out on its luck, and she talks to a woman that used to be a oracle. But she lost her vision when she had a child, and it was dropped down the village well. And so heroes have come to try to save the child, but unfortunately none have returned from the well. And now Ara is here, and she has come to try to save the child in exchange for information that the oracle could give her. But then she gets there in the well and finds a monster. And this is the kind of storytelling that I really, really like, because she comes to the realization that there's only the monster down there, that there's no child. Except there is the child. The child is the monster. The mother sends heroes down to go save her child. And she is. Because she's providing it food. And that's such a cool fucking story. Like, that's just the kind of storytelling I really like. And you're wrapping it all in the guise of a genie and shit. That's awesome. I'm so there for that kind of stuff. But Ara's like this badass warrior chick, and so she's able to defeat the monster and move on. The overall plot, though, is that Ara's mother is a djinn, and djinn are cast down from their own home, their own kingdom, and imprisoned on Earth inside a physical object, bound to whoever holds that vessel, and their whims. So Ara's mother, at first, was bound to this little like crescent moon figure thing, whatever it's supposed to be, and was found by a man who is a good, kind king, and never asked for Ara's mother to kill for him or do anything that made her uncomfortable, just to protect him as he rose to power and became a great and benevolent king. And then his final wish was for her to look over his son that he had with his wife, who grew into a king himself. And Ara's mother ended up marrying that son and becoming the queen, and they had Ara, who's half human, half djinn. But one day the kingdom was attacked, and Ara's mother tried to transform into her djinn form to protect her daughter. but the attacking army had her vessel. A guy in the army had her vessel, and so now he has her. She's under his control, and he also has his own Jin, who's under the control of a lamp. And it's really interesting how they're kind of extending, or how Krul kind of extends this metaphor of bondage, of servant for the Jins, because like his Jin has been broken of all will, and Ara's mother has not yet. She's still got some level of free will, and so she's not granting his wishes left and right. But he's working on breaking down her will, just as he broke down this Jin's will, so now it has to serve him blindly in horrific manners. And like this is the part where the art gets really cool, where you physically see the Jin bonded to the lamp, like by chains. That's really, really cool. Anyway, Ara's mother believes that Ara was killed fighting this Jin, and so she lashes out in anger, forming into her Jin form and attacking him. And she, of course, did that out of natural rage, but she was also ordered to do it. So you can see that this guy, the villain of the book, who's... Oh, her name's Luna. Ara's mother's name is Luna. That helps me. I can't remember the villain's name. You can see the villain is, though, like, slowly breaking her down and like, trying to zap her will. And I really like he's this evil speech to him. Don't think of it as doing my will. This is a wish I grant you. Do it for Ara. And so she starts attacking because it's what she wants to do, going into her Jin form. Yes, relish in your powers as a Jin. Feels good, doesn't it? Completely letting go. Torenthal? Torenthal's the name of the villain. It's cool. I should know that, but of course I don't. But because she relished in her powers, it gave him control over her again. So the chains began to bound her and whatnot. But then Ara remains on her quest to get to him, and yada 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 yada. She sneaks into the city where he's residing and tries to sneak into the palace with the help of a boy thief who's very, very clearly got some parallels to Aladdin. She meets him while he's running away from people in a market. Like, I mean, he's even got the fucking fez. So anyways, like, she's trying to sneak into the palace, but he, lures her into a sewer and then steals her armband, which is actually her vessel, connecting her to the world. And that's where that chapter concludes. And then there's a whole thing as the palace guards are there, and the army of the king, and they're all trying to take her down, but she's got magical genie superpowers, and she's a total badass, and is able to defeat everybody and save the day, and cut through an entire army by herself. It's whatever. She's a genie. It makes sense. Anyway, Torenthal 6, his Jin on Ara, who's kind of drunk on power, and Ara comes up with a clever plan not to try to defeat the Jin, but instead to try to get to Torenthal and destroy the Jin's vessel so that the Jin can retaliate. But the plan doesn't work out because destroying the vessel allows the Jin to go home. It removes his attachment to the physical world. But Torenthal gets away, steals Luna away, and gets on this fucking whack-ass steampunk dragon wing airship thing to escape Ara across an endless desert. So then the rest of the book is about Ara trying to find her way across the desert, find her way, like she meets a giant big cat thing in the desert and tames it so she can ride it across the desert, and then she gets to the end of the desert to a ocean, and carves a boat and sets out onto the ocean, where she encounters a pirate ship and boards the crew. And I want to talk about something else that's problematic as fuck in the book, but I kind of just roll my eyes at and keep reading on. Anyway, she boards the crew. Pirates try to rape her. She kills a bunch of pirates. The captain's a good guy, though, and so he invites her onto the crew. And then, yeah, that's where we leave the story, with her sailing across the ocean in search of her mother. So yeah, I mentioned that the pirates try to rape her. I'm going to read that scene. Best come aboard that log between your legs. Won't get you to harbor. It was the only option at the time. You're about to have lots of options, lady, as they roughly pull her on the boat. A little rough. Sorry about that, but you'll get used to it. Then again, you don't have much choice, do ya? And she's like, just one, mine, and then fights and kills a bunch of pirates. And the book opens with a traveler, female traveler, about to be raped and her father skinned alive and eaten by these fucking orc things or whatever. But Ara shows up and slaughters all of them because, yeah, and there's another scene like that where Ara's about to be sexually victimized. And I mean, to Krul's credit, he writes her all but chopping these guys' dicks off. To have such a visually sexualized character, and constantly throw rape out as a possibility, I don't even know where to begin. It's just there's nothing wrong with having sexualized characters that are proud of their bodies and feel fine being attractive. There's nothing wrong with writing a story where the bad guys in the story are insinuating or blatantly threatening to rape either the main character or another character, and to have the main character defeat them heroically. There's nothing wrong with those things. When you keep sexualizing characters, when you keep going to that trope of the rapist villain kind of thing, it creates a consistent problem where it feels like you were just exploiting women. It is sexist. Not in a way where it is talking down to women. It's not in a way of like women just can't do this kind of thing. It's not that type of sexist. There's a range of things. It is pigeonholing women. It is making light of women's issues. It is exploiting. It's exploitative of women. And so I am acknowledging all of that in here. And if you should be well aware of the existence of those kinds of themes in this book if you do have a passing interest in it. You should be well aware that it is, by all means, a problematic as fuck book. And yeah, call me an SJW all you want, I don't give a fuck. It does have consistent problems in that regard. It's not the worst thing ever. It's not like gonna, as long as you're aware of it, as long as you're conscious of it, you'll probably be able to do what I do and kind of like roll your eyes and keep reading and get to the stuff that is legitimately interesting. And I do think there are things in here that are legitimately interesting, that are worth your time, that is fun, cool storytelling in comics. maybe for younger people, a lot of this stuff's going to go over their head and they'll just think, yeah, it's whatever. That's fine. Maybe some 14-year-old boy will read this because jugs and then kind of get, oh, so raping people is bad and I'll get my dick cut off if I do it. Good, not good to know. I won't do that. Maybe there's some kind of positivity to take from that message. I don't know. That's a bigger question than I'm here to answer. I like the storytelling. I think this is a well-told story. I like Ara as a character. It has problematic as fuck things in it. The art is exploitative. You kind of get it all as a package. I'm going to read Volume 2 because I like genies. Another thing that I didn't talk about as problematic, it's cultural appropriation, I believe. I don't know JT Krul's background or Paolo, the artist's background. I think it's safe to assume they're probably not Middle Eastern descent or Arabic descent. That seems like a far cry. I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe it's not cultural appropriation in that regard. Again, it's one of those things. I'm aware that is a problem. I'm not. By no means am I taking this as a clear representation, a true picture of Middle Eastern culture. Not by a long shot. It's doing a thing in a medium I like with a thing I like that I just don't get to see very often. When was the last time you read a story with a genie in it? So that's where I'm at on it. It's dumb fun. Is probably the best thing I can say about it. It's dumb fun with some highly problematic things to be aware of if you're going to read it. That's what I got. That'll do it for this episode of Trade Talk. Everyone, thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you next time. Again, I'm going to try to stay out of DC for just a little bit longer. Until next time, though, bye.
That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book.